Welcome back. This is a three-part series I've recorded earlier. Hopefully, you got the chance to see how I survived 2020. Now, let's talk about 2021. Um, and then the third video will kind of mesh them all together, both 20 and 2021. Welcome to my channel. As I mentioned earlier, how I survived 2021. At the recording time, this is December 12th, 2021. So I'm still haven't quite finished 2021. However, the large majority of the year has passed, as you know. So 2021 started out really strong. I've been blessed. I've been fortunate that even though the quarantine happened in 2020, 2020 was a good strong year. 2021 started out even stronger. As I mentioned in a previous video, we had to adapt to the cleanliness, social distancing. We were under a mask mandate for a while, so that was really interesting with the mask mandate when I had students in class, because if they were asked a question or if I were to talk, they couldn't hear me, or they could hear me but it was muffled, or if someone answered a question, let's just say I asked a question in general, um, and like, how fast are you going at a stop sign, or just something maybe silly, just to break the ice and just kind of give them, a laugh or two. I couldn't tell who actually answered the question until they raised their hand. So that was kind of weird, in my opinion. Anyway, so January and February come rolling around, we did really well. Um, March came rolling around, and I decided, because I teach at three different high schools here locally, and I have my course in my classroom and my office complex. I'm a little bit everywhere. So, in order to continue on with the three schools, I chose Microsoft Teams, and I'm still learning with Teams. I'm pretty good with them. Not going to go into detail as far as whether Zoom's better, Teams better, Google Meets, or whatever, whoever the platform is. I just chose it. And to be perfectly honest with you, the one reason I chose it is two out of the three schools that I use, or that I teach at, I should say, I use Microsoft Teams. So I thought, okay, these students already know the process, and the parents know Microsoft Teams. So if I have any issues or they have any issues, they know how to correct it. And so that's basically why I chose it. So it wasn't a big deal. So March class come roll around, I did something I've never tried before. So I did the teams, and everything worked fine. And April, so April class, it was really unique in the fact that everybody's kind of getting tired of being cooped up and everything. So I ended up having what I call Easter break class. Some of you may call it spring break, or stuff like that. I call it Easter break. But anyway, I had a class from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. because we required 30 hours of classroom, like I said in previous videos, and 6 hours of driving. Um, but I had so many people wanting to take the class that I offered a 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. So I taught from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's 60 hours worth of teaching for two classes. And we'd moved into a new office complex, bigger classroom, so everything was getting up and running. I had so much business, which was great, that I created a third class for April. So April was really a strong month for me. And as springtime rolled around, people were getting more and more out and open. I think, as I mentioned in previous videos here locally, we had phase one, phase two, and phase three. As far as the quarantine part and the mandates, we we started back in May of 2020 with phase two opening, and then it mushroomed into three, I think by Easter of 2021. Okay, something like that. But anyway, so May I had so much business. And keep in mind at this point, I had just hired an office manager. Okay, so I had done everything completely on my own until the end of March. Okay, she comes on board. She's my office manager. She helps with scheduling, bookkeeping, things of that nature. I still don't have any help with driving. It's still me. So I had to cancel May class because I had so many students needing their drive times that I couldn't just have class. Because remember, me doing it by myself, if I chose to do a 30-hour class, that's 30 hours of driving that I could be finishing up, 5 students. Okay. So, it does matter for me. June was huge, huge, big June class. I ended up with, I started figuring out how to do teams better. And so I ended up having class and in person class and teams. And that was kind of interesting, in the fact that as you're talking to a camera, like I'm doing right now, you got 20 other students in person so you really don't know who to talk to. You don't know whether to talk to the students or talk to the camera. And it's that part's kind of, different, and it's kind of unique to try to, figure out. I think between all the 3 schools and the in-person class in June, I think I had about 54 students, maybe 55. So it was a good big June class. Each week I have a class, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2. So during summer I would have, and I do have, 10 classes during summer as far as classroom part. And then I would drive. Well, fortunately, in July, one of my drivers, I finally got him into the class he needed to take, and he was able to start driving with me. And so that took some of the burden and some of the backlog off of me. Okay. And then in mid-August, I was able to get the second driver. So now I have myself and 2 other drivers working, almost around the clock. I'm pretty much 7 days a week. Just kind of give you an illustration. After Christmas holidays are over, I will have been off 17 days this year. 17 days out of 365. So if you feel like once you start your driving business here locally, oh, well, I'm going to have someone else do it. It's a big, huge process to get one person to take the course, to get certified. It's a big, huge process. To be fortunate to get them in that class, because they only allow like 20. I've heard 12, I've heard 20. So it's not very many people. And they only offer them about 8 classes a year, different parts of the state. So it's not like, you can just pop in once a month and get a class. It's 80 hours, so a lot of adults don't have 80 hours. So it's a real big process. This particular driver, the first driver instructor I hired, he actually got bumped 4 times. He was supposed to be in 3 different locations, and a week or 2 before, he got bumped. And then he'd get bumped again and get bumped again. And so I finally got him in another town 5 hours away. So he had to spend the night. So obviously, hotel costs, food costs, gas costs, things like that for him to take the course. So it's a really time-consuming process, okay? So I was fortunate to get them going. What the big kind of $64,000 question that we kind of had to figure out this year is, when the schools started, the public schools here, my particular county, they do them on their own. Nor do they have in-house driver's ed. And some schools still do here in our local area. But our particular does. and to see whether we would, slow down any because people would take their homeschool, their school, and take driver's ed through their school. Well, actually, it still has been wide open. Um, to be honest with you, I was trying to hurry up and get that first driver in to get going sooner, obviously, but he kept getting bumped. We have drive onlys. That basically means someone takes the 30 hours at another school, and then they're so backlogged, they'll call us occasionally and say, "Hey, can you do the 6 hours to help us out?" And sometimes we can. I was really wanting the first driver instructor to um, get on board earlier, come to work earlier. Unfortunately, we couldn't. We've estimated that we have lost this year. Now, granted, when I say lost, our sales didn't go down. We just didn't get the sales. We probably should be around $42,000 more this year than we are because we couldn't get to all the drive onlys. So that's potential revenue that we could have had that we didn't get, unfortunately. But we know better, and so this time around, I've got two drivers. So hopefully, in 2020, when people start calling for drive onlys, we'll be more inclined to be able to help them. So November was sort of slow. We got through October and some other classes. Everything's been wide. When I say slow, I'm talking revenue wise. As far as business wise, we've been wide open all year long. We haven't slowed down. As I said earlier, I'm 7 days a week, very very few days off. Revenue wise, and I think a lot of November's revenue dropping is because of Christmas, Thanksgiving, holidays, people traveling, people just not ready. We got Black Friday with Christmas shopping, things like that. So I don't think November, December's picked back up. We've got a good strong class for Christmas break, as I mentioned earlier, the Monday after Christmas. But I don't expect a lot, and I hope so. Hopefully we will. But Christmas presents, Christmas parties, traveling, sports, you know, vacations, whatever. I just don't see a lot of revenue in December. I hope so, but I just don't see it. January is going to look strong. February for 2022 and things of that nature. So overall, 2021 was better than 2020 for me personally, as far as this business. Could have been better. Yeah, we could have got those drive onlys. But looking back on the year, I couldn't be happier with the year. There's no way. I was blessed. Everything worked well. The restrictions for the quarantine have somewhat passed for us here locally, and so still with the protocols of cleanliness and stuff, we're still trying to manage that like we're supposed to. However, it's more getting a little bit more back to normal. Now it's just a backlog. As I mentioned earlier, I got kids coming in an hour and a half just to take the class, one way, not two ways, but one way. Or I've had 2 hour drive sessions. I've had students like drive an hour to get to my location and then drive an hour back. So they drove just as much time getting to and from my location as I did driving with them in my car. So that part's interesting to see. Met a lot of awesome people this year. And 2020 was too. This is a cool business to be in. You meet a lot of cool people. A lot of people, everybody's excited about getting their permit. One thing too here, and regardless of the year, all students want their permit yesterday, and people in our society, as want things now, and they don't want to wait. And so it's that part. It's always going to be an element of the business, but it's manageable. So if you like what you saw or hear on this video, feel free to like us on Facebook and also like us on YouTube. Thank you for listening. I'll make another video shortly. Thank you very much. Have a great day.